Hey, this would be a hopefully short introduction to who am I and why am I here? What is my mission? Why am I creating this YouTube channel? And why you should listen to me at all. Well, first of all, let me tell you, I'm not comfortable with camera, not yet. So at least this is something I kind of new to me. And as you can see, as you will see, you will watch me sometimes read notes to remind me the things I need to say. You will understand I'm not a professional YouTuber. Indeed, I'm not a YouTuber. I don't care about YouTube. It's just a tool for me. A tool for what? A tool to reach you and the people that, like you, are living, that are into a kundalini awakening, specifically a rough kundalini awakening. You can call it kundalini crisis, you can call it spiritual emergency, as many names, meditation sickness, Zen sickness. It goes by different names depending on the tradition we are referring to. The concept is always the same. The point is, you are experiencing a lot of strange, different kind of, let's call them symptoms, that are all related to a spiritual awakening. It's a spiritual thing. Is not, of course, is nothing. Is not medical condition, because otherwise you shouldn't listen to me. You should be referring to a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm a person who went through a kundalini awakening myself, and we are only referring to the spiritual phenomena of awakening. So, given the introduction, if you're a person that it's in this phase, you're having a emergency, a spiritual emergency, or you're living, a kundalini awakening which is not that pleasant, this is the right place, and I think you can find some value in the things I will say. And why should you listen to me? Well, I'll give you some reasons and you'll decide. The first one is that I had a kundalini awakening by the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. It was December, January. And basically what happened, keep in mind I came from a agnostic. I started as an atheist, as a 9-year-old boy. I was very logical, very empirical, and to me religion sounded like, sorry, there's stuff coming off the tree, I hope nothing on my head. And as a 9-year-old boy, I was already empirical, rational, logical, and religion did not make any sense to me, so I was an atheist. Indeed, I hated church. I thought it was has to be destroyed. Honestly, that was my thought as 9-year-old, 10-year-old boy, kind of premature. And by my mid 20, early 30, I became more agnostic because I couldn't ignore stuff that we couldn't explain. Like, you think of a person that you do not listen, you never heard of this person in years or months. You think of this person and they call you, or Facebook suggests their friendship, and many other phenomena which could not be explained rationally. And so I was kind of agnostic. I mean, I thought, okay, maybe there's some. Of course, there's something, because, I mean, look at the space. There's something, but I don't have time. First, I don't care, and I'm too much busy making my business work. So I was in a stage of my life where basically I was living in my 80% of my dream. You know, it took me years, at least 5-6 years of sweat, blood, and tear to build something which allowed me to move to my dream country, to have my dream business. And I was kind of realized on the spiritual, on the physical level, on the material level. And at the time I didn't have a clue what kundalini was, or even chakras. I mean, I believe chakras were, a term that those hippies, those woo-woo hippies used to identify the glands in the body. I thought, it was just crap, it was just bullshit. I thought in the world there are people which are more left brain sided, which use more logic and decode the world in a logical way, and people that use the wind is blowing off my paper. It's a sign I shouldn't use notes. Okay, so, and the people with the right brain side more active were these spiritual people, but to me it was just crap. I looked at these people as ungrounded, unable to live life. They couldn't bear reality. That's why they created those films, those movies about a better life in the sky and stuff like that. So that was my position. Keep in mind, I was pretty absolute in my position. But again, that did not stop kundalini. So I'll condense the story, because it's I think one day I'll maybe write a book on it, because there's so much stuff that happened that it would take literally hours to explain. I will just say that by the end of 2017, well, by the August of 2017, things started to move, because it wasn't sudden. There was a moment in which I was blown away, but it came with some, at least hopefully, some preparation. And the preparation consisted in this. Basically, I was at the time, it was August, and I was traveling. I was traveling a lot, and things that started to happen. The most prominent is that I started to see numbers everywhere. The numeric pattern, the so-called angel numbers, which I don't call angelic numbers because, well, it's a long story, but I don't think angels has nothing to do with it. At least not the good angels. But the point is, I was, traveling a lot, and I started to, see those numbers everywhere. It happened every now and then since I was a kid, but not as much as that summer. And it was so incredible, so full of those numbers that even a rational mind like mine couldn't ignore it. Because I was shooting a video, and it was 1 minute 11 seconds. I was watching, the watch, and it was 9:09. This is incredible. I was doing the internet speed test on my phone to check the connection, and it was, 6 megs and 66 megabits per second. It was literally everywhere. Plates on cars, phone numbers of people. That summer I met a lot of new people, and I got those numbers in their phone number, literally everywhere. So even me, as skeptical as I was, I started to think, Jesus, this is really statistically impossible. I'm not a statistician, but it was statistically impossible. And I got I started to take picture and screenshots of all those numbers, and this is one of this is really the first sign that was used on me to hook me, because you couldn't hook me with anything else. You couldn't talk to me about chakras or energy. I would have laughed in your face, but I couldn't ignore numbers. This was in my face. And the same summer, as the time went by, even new things started to happen. One was that I often find myself talking to people and talking of things that I not necessarily know, but most importantly, I found myself talking in a way that was so wise, so intelligent, so grounded, so wise, so introspective, so into, I was really helping people. I was talking to with a few words to the point. And in general, the point was that many times I was talking to someone, and I was speaking, and remember thinking, did I say that? Did I say this? Who was talking? I couldn't. I mean, it wasn't me. I mean, it was my voice. It was me telling these people these things, but it wasn't me. And it was like I was listening to this voice talking, and I was learning stuff myself. I was learning new things myself. I was astonished by some of the things I was saying, but it wasn't me, strictly speaking. And this was really, really, again, disorienting to me. But again, those are two symptoms, two of the things that started to, multiply and add up in months before the actual moment. I had a lot of other things, the feeling of electricity in the body, the feeling of, like heart shake, heart quake, and to the point that I would look around it and check if really there was an earthquake, but there wasn't. It was inside of me, but it was so clear. And believe me, I know earthquakes. I've been in through many, and I know them very well. And so, a lot of symptoms. Those classic symptoms you'll find if you Google, if you look for Kundalini awakening symptoms or signs, you'll find them, man. Most of those I had. The real moment of, I call it the no going back moment, happened one night, and I will not tell the whole story here. Let's just say it was by the end of 2018, and all those symptoms multiplied. I came back to the country I was living in at the time. I quit traveling for a while, and all those symptoms were skyrocketing. I felt this energy coming from the bottom of my body, the heat, the electricity. I felt like I had something on my hands. I couldn't explain what. And even today, you maybe can relate if you're going through this. And I felt like really, really into my intuition. I was always been like more logical and rational. I was really into my intuition, and again, the coincidences, the synchronicities just multiplied. I started meeting people. I started, all sorts, it seemed like an orchestrated movie. It seemed like a movie, really orchestrated, because yeah, it felt really unnatural. The reality began to feel unnatural, as someone somewhere was pushing the button, was, you know, modifying the code, editing the code, the source code. But again, I had no clue back then. I was just running my business. I had no, I wasn't seeking anything. But one night, I remember it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. Sleep was becoming even sleep was becoming difficult. And I went to the mirror. I went to the mirror to watch myself in the mirror, and I remember I couldn't recognize the guy in front of me. Like, who's this guy? Really, I had no clue. It wasn't me. I mean, it was me. He had this face with long hairs at the time, very long hairs, but I couldn't recognize him. And it reminded me of one thing that I used to say to people. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but it happened to me many times. And the scene is this: I am in a mall, a mall, or a public place where I'm walking. I'm just walking. There's the tree is coming up on me. Hopefully not. And walking in a public street, and many times it happened to me. A few times during the years that I would see somebody there, a person in the middle of the crowd, and I remember thinking, oh, that guy seems interesting. I like that guy. I want to talk to him, which is, believe me, something really, really rare for me to tell or even think. That's reality. But then again, I look better, and it was myself, because there was a mirror, one of those very clean walls with a mirror, and it seemed like a person, but it was me. And as soon as I realized, oh, that's me, okay, it doesn't matter. The enthusiasm just faded away, like this, quick. And it was a strange experience, but I never put much attention to it. But this is to make a point that this night the bathroom was unlit. I didn't turn on the light, and I was watching myself in the mirror, and it happened the same thing, like-ish the same thing. I would see this guy and like feel love, compassion, all sorts of beautiful emotions against this person. Like, it was somebody really interesting, but it didn't fade away like it used to when I was, at the mall. And the thing lasted for about 3 seconds net, and then everything changed. I will go not much in detail in this moment. Maybe I will continue the story later if somebody ever asks. But let's say that as soon as I felt love for the guy in front of me in the mirror, I started to communicate with non-physical entities. Non-physical entities. Like I felt like I suddenly felt like I was not alone anymore. I felt like there was someone, but not physically. I felt really palpable, really real, a presence in my mind, in me, somewhere into me. Can't explain really, And I remember asking it, "And who the fuck are you?" And it replied, and it gave me a name, which I will not repeat in this at the moment. It's a very long chapter, but let's say that was my introduction to Kundalini awakening, because I started to talk right away with this voice, which really, it wasn't my mind. It was in my mind, but it was not coming from me. It was not coming from the mind or the brain, as you want to call it, even though are separate things. And the point is, I knew this thing as to do with what I was experiencing, and I started asking. Okay, I mean, I knew I had to go deeper and dive deeper into what was going on, and I was already Googling in the previous days. I was on Google asking. I feel energy in my body. I feel electricity. I feel like stuff moving into my body. I feel like electronics malfunction when I'm around, or I was Googling all this stuff. This mystical things that I couldn't explain happening to me. I feel the heart quake, even if randomly, and some pointed out to medical conditions. Of course, if you feel the heart quake, they tell you have a problem with the ears or something. But again, I had no clue. So I knew this voice had a whole to do with what was happening. So I started to talk to it, even to acknowledge if it was real or was just going nuts. And so I just ran on the computer again, and I couldn't believe I was talking to this voice. Really, I thought I was going crazy. I was going nuts. Again, I was a rational person. Oh, there's a bird here. I was a rational person, and I couldn't just, accept it. So I started to type again, looking for symptoms. But again, the voice clearly said to me, search for Kundalini awakening. Okay, so I did. And bear in mind, I never heard, I did hear the word Kundalini back a lot, years ago, before the event, but because I had a friend which was practicing Kundalini awakening. It was practicing Kundalini yoga. But I thought, okay, Kundalini yoga is just one name. There is tons of kind of yoga, Kriya yoga, all laugh yoga. So I just thought it was one name, one brand of yoga. Being in marketing myself, I thought it was a brand and nothing else. But the guy in my head told me, look for Kundalini awakening, and I did it, and I started to find those websites, those that, of course, yourself too have encountered as well. I'm pretty sure, and I found those lists of Kundalini awakening symptoms, and Jesus, I have it. And that night, basically, my whole existence, my whole world, just crashed. It's like tear down, poke a hole in the fabric of my universe at the time. Why? Because I looked up what Kundalini was. I looked up what was going on, and everything I stood for was just shook. It was just crumbling. It's like, losing ground under your feet, because everything I believed was real. It wasn't. I couldn't deny the things that I was experiencing. And well, long story short, this was the introduction, but not the end of the story. We have to make a long jump here. This is the real beginning of the thing, and let's say, just again, suffice to say that I started to communicate with this and other non-human entities, let's call them, and the journey was like blissful for the first 3 to 4 months. Between 3 and 5 months. It was like bliss. It was like, okay, it really was. I mean, it was like disorienting from a person like me to go from agnostic, rational, logical, to discover what, that the whole thing was real. But again, I had those beautiful symptoms, let's call them. I was communicating with entities. I was communicating with my, I felt like, for the first time, integrated. I felt like whole, unique. There wasn't the duality of, the typical duality of humans, like when you say, I want to do this thing, and then you don't do it. I was like integrated. And I was full of energy. I didn't need to sleep or eat much, and well, let's bear it. Let's bear with the sun, no problem. And the point is, after those quick months of bliss, the nightmare began. The nightmare began because Kundalini is not about bliss. It's not about personal gain. It's not about, we offer Kundalini activation. We offer, enlightenment for a fair price. The offer that you see today in the world, on the internet, people offering Shaktipat and the zero effort awakening. Spiritual awakening is not for the fainted of, for the faint heart. And so it began the nightmare. Began the real journey. Began the shadow work. Because Kundalini awakening and spiritual awakening is about realizing the truth. And truth is not easy. We'll not go into detail right now about the whole cosmology and why this world exists. It's not my place. It's not my mission here. But the point is, hell on earth started for me. So I began not to sleep. I began fighting against, let's call again, non-human entities, which, were attracted or were, let's say, not very happy that someone was about to escape the matrix. Let's call it that. And long story short, in a few 6 months, it became the nightmare, and I had all sorts of negative symptoms. Couldn't sleep, couldn't even I was so sensitive to anything that it was even difficult to stay around people, around electronics, around all negativities. And in a few short 6 months, I became a totally different person. To be honest, it was like I was replaced I was replaced. I don't know if you're ever heard the concept of there is a concept which is really tied to the UFO and narrative and stuff. They call this a walk-in. A walk-in is a person which souls is replaced by the soul of another non-human entity embodying the body, taking over the body of the person. And at the moment I think that's bullshit, but at the time the change was so drastic that I thought I was afraid I was a walk-in. I was totally afraid I was a walk-in because I mean I was listening to heavy metal. I remember there was a fight between the old me, the old self, and the new self that was literally descending from above into this body in months. I literally remember, I used to listen to heavy metal, and I do sometimes, even now. And I remember the other part of me deleting all this violent music and download bhajans or sacred music, sacred Indian music, and then again, when I came back, I was deleting his music and re-downloading my own metal music. So it was like a battle between light and shadow, internal fight. And again, long story short, I would take a book. Let's just say that in 6 months I lost everything I had. And I am joking, I lost everything I had. I estimated losing about 25,000, if not more, I guess is even more, 25,000 euros in between physical assets and cash, liquid money, including books, including even clothing. And if it wasn't for my parents, I would have been homeless. And by the end of 2019, the pain was so unbearable. The pain, because the suffering was so unbearable that I decided I'd quit the game. I would say goodbye to everyone and leave the game. So, if you understand what I mean. It didn't happen, as you see, I'm here. I survived, but it took again about 5 years to go back on my feet, to go back to point zero. And it was not an easy journey. It was a total nightmare. But and this is the reason I'm here in front of the camera. As I told you in the beginning, I'm not necessarily comfortable or like talking to a camera, or even put myself on in the public. But I guess it's needed because spiritual awakening is becoming more common, and it will be even more common in the coming years. And a lot of people are left alone. A lot of people are in the same situation as I was, probably even worse, even better, I guess. But a lot of are struggling. And at the time when I was going through this, there was no real help. There was no real there is no guidance, no real people out there that can tell you how to do this, how to navigate the whole thing. And as of today, nothing much changed. Maybe we got a book or two, but again, it's not enough. It's not enough. And I know how it is to, I know the struggle and the pain and the suffering of this situation. And I want to help people navigate the kundalini syndrome, the spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul, which is possible. It's possible. It took me so many years because I had no guidance. I had no clue. And again, I remind you, I wanted to refuse it because I thought, for the most part, I was going nuts. I did not deny it was real. I thought, well, maybe it's because, I mean, man, the things that you experience while you are there, you know, watching the Matrix unfold in front of your eyes is this. I mean, it's hard even for somebody that is into spirituality, I guess. Figures if somebody does not even know what a chakra is, like I was. So my mission now is to help people one-to-one to overcome this delicate phase of their life, because believe me, it's possible. And the point is, this is one important, you know, it is a pillar of my, let's call it, protocol, is that most people out there tell you to surrender. Everywhere you go, on Reddit, on YouTube, or whatever, they tell you to surrender. And I tell you, that's bullshit. I surrendered. And I let God, the universe, and the kundalini Shakti do its things, and it basically destroyed everything I had. Which, okay, we can say it is not all bad, but it could have been avoided. Transformation does not necessarily need. I mean, there's two types of pain you can endure. One is necessary. I mean, if you want to build muscle, you gotta go to the gym and feel the pain and be disciplined. So there is a mandatory suffering, let's call it, but there is a lot of suffering that we create because we lack, maybe probably a path. We lack knowledge. We lack, we don't know how to do it. But believe me, I think most of the suffering during a Kundalini awakening and a spiritual emergency is avoidable. And that's my mission, to help you avoid the pain that is not necessary. So this is basically a rough presentation of who I am and why I am here. What is the goal of this channel, and that's all. Wish you well. Godspeed.